As you begin to listen to my words, you might notice something interesting, something you never paid attention to before. Maybe you've seen how thoughts, just like clouds, drift in and out of your awareness without any need to hold on to them. Like a leaf floating gently downstream, thoughts can come and go with ease. No effort needed, no judgment, just an awareness that allows you to explore new possibilities. Imagine for a moment what it would be like if you didn't need to be perfect to be successful, and instead simply allowed yourself to be good enough, just as you are, in every moment. You know, there are countless examples in life where things don't need to be perfect to be extraordinary. In fact, it's often the very imperfections that make things even more valuable. Notice how, when you focus on progress instead of perfection, things seem to shift naturally. Remember a time when you felt confident, successful, or perhaps just at ease with who you are. That moment right now, you can bring it into focus, vividly seeing how you felt, how you were breathing, how your body moved. And as you notice that feeling, allow it to expand. And as you breathe, notice how it feels to know deep inside that you are enough. You are always enough, just as you are. There's an old story about a tree that grew in a beautiful forest. The tree, over time, began to compare itself to others. Was it tall enough? Was it straight enough? And for a while, it felt like it wasn't measuring up. But one day, the tree realized it wasn't the tallest or the straightest that mattered. It was the way it was deeply rooted, standing strong in the face of the wind, creating a space for the birds to nest, for the sun to shine through. The tree was, and always has been, exactly what it needed to be. When you think about success, what if success wasn't defined by some unreachable standard, but instead by how you handle the ups and downs along the way? And as you start seeing success isn't about perfection, but about growth, you might notice how much easier it is to embrace each step forward, knowing with every new experience you're becoming more of who you're meant to be. Just as you can hear these words now, you might realize deep down something is shifting, and the more you focus on the way you already succeeded, the more your mind will naturally focus on how capable and resourceful you truly are, effortlessly letting go of anything that no longer serves you. And in the quiet moments, you'll begin to notice just how good enough you've always been. And as you relax more deeply, it becomes easier to tap into that part of you that already knows that you're enough. You might begin to notice that, just like your breath, you don't have to think about the resources you need. Confidence, courage, patience. They're already inside you, quietly waiting to be called upon. And as your body relaxes even more, notice how this awareness seems to grow effortlessly, just like the way the sun rises each morning without effort, yet so powerfully lighting up the sky and everything in its path. You've always had that power within you, waiting to be fully seen. Imagine for a moment that you step into the future, just a few weeks from now, and see yourself looking back on this moment. And as you do, notice how much more confident and capable you've become. See yourself in that future, completely relaxed, knowing deep down that you're more than enough. It's like stepping into that future vision of you and feeling that deep sense of contentment wash over you, knowing that everything you thought you needed to change has already changed. You see it now, don't you? That change has already occurred, and you are always meant to be exactly who you are. And as you continue to listen to these words, just notice, without needing to try, how your mind can expand in ways that surprise you. Notice how it feels to acknowledge, without a doubt, that you are good enough. It's as if your unconscious mind is naturally weaving these thoughts together, aligning with the belief that you've always had what it takes. You may wonder, even as you hear these words, how the smallest shifts in your thinking, they can make the biggest difference in your life. And as those shifts happen, You don't need to understand them fully, but you'll begin to notice that they're happening naturally. Imagine that in your life, nothing needs to be perfect to be valuable. Instead of striving for some impossible ideal, what if simply showing up as you are right now is exactly enough? Think about how many things in your life that were once challenging now seem like small steps, taken one after another, leading you to places of growth. And the beauty is, those small steps, they're all that's needed. Nothing more, nothing less. You are enough as you are, in this moment. And every step that you take from here, it only brings you closer to a fuller expression of that truth. There's a story about a small stream in the forest, quietly winding its way through the trees. At first, the stream felt that it couldn't flow because it wasn't as wide as the river or as powerful as the waterfalls. But one day, it realized that no matter how small it seemed, its path was still important, still significant. The trees grew tall because of the water it brought. The birds sang songs from its bank, and the stream began to see that the quiet flow was enough to create ripples of change all around. You are like that stream. Your quiet presence, your unique flow is already enough. You might find it curious that in this moment, as you listen and wonder how this all fits together, your mind is already starting to shift without you needing to consciously do anything about it. It's as if the pieces of this puzzle are already coming together in ways you never expected. And it's not so much about how it happens, but that you're beginning to feel it deep down, in places you didn't even realize were shifting. Just like a flower that starts to bloom, the change happens naturally without effort. In time, you'll notice that the belief of being not good enough simply fades away, leaving behind the awareness of your inherent worth. Think about a time when you felt strong, capable, or deeply content with yourself. And as you breathe deeply, you can reconnect with that moment, bringing that feeling into your awareness. Notice how that strength was always there, always available, just beneath the surface. And now, as you focus on that feeling, you might discover it becoming more pronounced, more noticeable. Each breath you take seems to amplify that strength and confidence, as though it's becoming a natural part of who you are. And with each passing moment, this confidence becomes more integrated, effortlessly part of you, guiding you to new ways of seeing yourself as good enough, always. Now I want you to place your hand on your heart, just gently, and notice how it feels to simply be present with yourself, without judgment. Take a moment to remember that you are enough, just as you are. And with every breath you take, the feeling of acceptance and knowing your worth deepens. Every time you touch your heart, you'll reconnect to the deep sense of inner confidence, self-acceptance, and enoughness. You don't need to do anything to make it happen. You're already doing it. Every time you breathe, every time you touch your heart, it becomes easier to know that you are enough. It's fascinating how the mind works, isn't it? It can learn to change so effortlessly, like a stream gently finding its way through new paths. You might notice how your unconscious mind, it can now reframe situations in your life, shifting your perspective in a way that you're able to see how good enough you've always been. And it's okay, there's no rush, because every shift happens in its own perfect time. And when you look back, you'll be amazed at how easily and naturally things have changed for you, almost without even trying at all. So, it's interesting, isn't it? How sometimes the more you think about something, the less you need to try to understand it. It's as if the very idea of good enough becomes clearer when you stop thinking so hard about it, like the way a cloud gently drifts across the sky. You might notice how, with each passing moment, you're already moving in the direction of knowing your true worth. You don't need to know how it works, it just works. And without even trying, you may begin to sense how that inner knowing, that deep sense of being good enough. It's quietly becoming part of you, like the calm that follows the storm, always present, always there. Notice for a moment how even the smallest shift in your thinking can lead to enormous changes in the way you feel. You might remember at a time when something seemed difficult, but with a small adjustment, just a little change in your focus or perception, it became easier, almost effortless. And now consider how that applies to this new belief. What if knowing you're enough could be as simple as just a tiny shift in how you think about yourself? And with each little shift, you feel more grounded, more aligned with your true self, as though it's already been there waiting for you, ready to emerge. And just as the clouds in the sky start to shift and change, so too can your thoughts. Imagine a thought that once held you back, like the belief I'm not good enough. Now picture it as a leaf drifting down a stream, effortlessly moving away from you, without any effort, no struggle. It no longer has a hold on you. The more you see it floating away, the more you realize it was never truly yours to begin with. Now, as that thought disappears, what you're left with is a deep sense of peace, of knowing that you are and always have been enough. It's fascinating how, as you relax and listen to these words, your unconscious mind begins to reframe everything. Every time you hear the idea of being good enough, it doesn't feel like something you need to prove or achieve. Instead, it feels like an inevitable truth, like the sun rising every morning, without any effort on your part. And as this truth settles deeper and deeper into your awareness, you may notice it becomes less and less necessary to question it, because you start to feel it, to embody it, in ways that are natural, easy, and effortless. Imagine for a moment that you step into the future, maybe just a few weeks or months from now, and look back on this moment. And as you do, you notice how much more confident, at ease, and certain you are about your worth. Notice how, with each new day, you've become more and more aligned with your true self, more comfortable, more peaceful, more aware of your enoughness. And as you experience that future, you realize the seeds of change, they've already been planted, and they're growing now, effortlessly, naturally. Each moment that passes brings you closer to a full realization of your own worth. Let's take a moment now, as you breathe deeply, to reinforce that feeling of knowing that you are enough. Picture a future situation, perhaps a challenge or an opportunity, and notice how when you face it, you're calm, centered, and confident. You feel grounded in the knowledge that you are more than enough to handle anything that comes your way. With each breath, this sense of confidence expands, becoming stronger, deeper, and more natural. And as you move forward to this present moment, you may notice this new sense of self-worth stays with you, guiding you with ease. There's a story about a butterfly that, after struggling to emerge from its cocoon, realized the struggle was never about becoming something else. It was about becoming more of who it already was. The butterfly didn't need to become perfect to take flight. It just needed to trust the wings that it had, that were already enough. And as that butterfly soared through the air, it understood the very process of transformation had made it stronger and more resilient. Just like the butterfly, you too have always been enough. Every experience has only enhanced the true strength within you. And as you continue to relax and focus on your breath, notice how your body responds to the idea of being good enough. Perhaps you feel a subtle warmth in your chest, or a lightness in your shoulders. And as you breathe deeply, these sensations grow stronger, and you begin to realize just how deeply this truth is rooted within you. Every time you inhale, you may feel your sense of worth expand, and with every exhale, any doubts or fears about not being enough, they simply dissolve into the air. With each breath, your inner strength, your inner peace grows. And as you continue to relax, imagine that, like the ripples on the pond, the belief that you are not enough begins to dissolve, flowing away gently, leaving nothing but calm water. You might even wonder how something that once felt so heavy, so present, can now seem so distant, so irrelevant. As the ripples fade, you realize the space left behind is filled with a sense of possibility, a new truth, that you've always been enough and always will be. Now take a moment to imagine, with complete certainty, how you feel as you move through your days, fully aware that you're enough. Every situation, every moment, will now carry with it a deep knowing that you're more than capable, more than worthy, more than enough. Each time you think about this, you find this belief in your inherent worth is stronger, clearer, and more grounded than ever before. It's as though you've always known this truth, and now it's simply becoming the way that you see yourself, effortlessly, naturally, and complete.